A historic day in our nation's capital. The former and future president meeting with President Biden in the Oval Office. And just down Pennsylvania Avenue, a new Senate Majority Leader crowned.
This is President-elect Trump is making quick work of filling his cabinet. Yesterday, tapping Congressman Matt Gaetz for Attorney General. Joining us now is ABC senior congressional correspondent Rachel Scott. Rachel, okay, we got to talk about this. What has the reaction been in Washington to this Gaetz nomination?
It has ranged from wow to audible gasp inside of some of these closed door rooms. I will tell you, Republicans that I have been talking to here on Capitol Hill, they were caught off guard by this. They did not see this one coming. Of course, Congressman Matt Gaetz has been investigated by the Justice Department himself over allegations of sex trafficking, obstruction of justice, allegations that he has denied. But if he is successful in this pick, he would go on to lead that very department. And of course, he was also facing a House ethics investigation here on Capitol Hill as well. He resigned pretty suddenly, and so that investigation is now wrapped up. But sources tell us that the House Ethics Committee was actually preparing to meet and deliberate over whether or not to release a report on Matt Gaetz. So this news catching a lot of people here by surprise, and it does raise some serious questions about whether or not he can be confirmed, guys.
But Rachel, with Republicans now in control, does that mean Gaetz will have an easy process with the Senate confirmation hearings?
Yeah, he will certainly have some allies on his side. And of course, President-elect Donald Trump here is tapping people who are loyal to him. You have Congressman Matt Gaetz. He is a staunch defender of the president-elect. And of course, the president-elect is going to be emboldened and strengthened by having both control of the House and the Senate. But still, there are major questions here. And talking to some Senate Republicans yesterday, it was clear that not everybody was on board. They had concerns. They had questions about Congressman Matt Gaetz, about his past history. And all of this is really putting some focus on just how much of the levers can be pulled here in the Senate. You have something that's called recess appointments. And this is important because this would just allow President-elect Donald Trump to push through his cabinet picks during an extended Senate recess without going through a typical confirmation hearing. Well, President-elect Trump is demanding that from the Senate. It remains to be seen whether or not the new Senate Majority Leader would actually do that. But it does raise some questions about just how quickly some of these cabinet picks could get in, even if they're controversial, guys.
Rachel, let's talk about that new Senate Majority Leader. South Dakota Republican John Thune was elected the Senate Majority Leader. What does that decision tell us?
Yeah, and this was a contested race. So you have Mitch McConnell. He's been in Senate leadership now for 18 years. He has stepped down. So this is really a new era, a changing face of Republican leadership over in the Senate. And Senator John Thune won this on the second ballot. He defeated Senator John Cornyn of Texas, Senator Rick Scott, who was a Trump ally. Many Trump allies were pushing for him to get this. Look, Thune is very widely respected here. He is someone that has criticized Donald Trump in the past, but he did make it clear that he's looking forward to working with the president-elect to get the agenda across the finish line. And of course, they will have the majority there in the Senate.
All right, so Republicans now have the Senate and the House. How is Washington responding to this shift in power, especially the Democrats?
Yeah, and it was a big question, of course, whether or not this was going to be a divided government for whoever won the White House. But now ABC News has projected that Republicans will not only remain control of the House, but they'll also obviously take the Senate as well. And I was told that by sources behind closed doors yesterday, House Democrats addressed this for the first time. And you had Democratic leader Hakeem Jeffries saying that the buck stops with him. He acknowledged the reality that they would not be taking back the majority in the House. And now all eyes will be sort of working on trying to get that majority in 2026, but also trying to put up a stand to some of the Trump policies that could go into effect here on Capitol Hill as well, guys.
We also have to talk, Rachel, about President-elect Trump and President Biden had a meeting in the Oval Office yesterday. What are you hearing about that meeting?
Yeah, and just what a striking image to see the two of them together. President Biden extending that invitation for President-elect Donald Trump to travel to the White House, have this face-to-face meeting there in the Oval Office. And remember, just 4 years ago, President-elect Donald Trump did not extend that same invitation to President Biden when he won the White House. So we are told this was a very gracious meeting, but it played out over the course of 2 hours, guys. And this is what democracy looks like. This is the transition of power in full effect.
All right, Rachel Scott in Washington. Rachel, thank you and good to see you again.
Thanks, guys.